After years on the road, Toomey parked the van and picked up the mic to bring you this podcast that features interviews with people from hardcore to hair metal. This is Talk To Me with your host, Joshua Toomey.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into Talk To Me. This is episode 195. The guest this week is the great Wednesday 13. He is on to talk about his upcoming tour with Cradle of Filth that starts March 7th in Las Vegas and runs through April 18th in Dallas, Texas. Wednesday is a great guest to have on. You know I love having Wednesday on because he not only talks about music and metal and all that good stuff, he also talks about 80s toys, which is like my other love in the world, and I love everything 80s. And so Wednesday and I talk about so much great stuff. We talk about the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix and how crazy that stuff is. All the latest additions to his toy collection, where the nickname Mr. Motherfucker came from, playing with Ozzy on New Year's Eve, and so much more. So, man, it's a great chat, and I cannot wait to get it out to you. Here it is. I guess this is a Talk To Me on a Saturday. Who does that? When has that happened? I don't think we've ever had a Saturday Talk To Me. But as you guys know, that no matter what day of the week it is, the Talk To Me podcast is brought to you by our good friend Scott Bowling down in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, Good Company with Bowling. It is on YouTube. It is at scottgoodcompany.com. So many great episodes. Looks like he's got his Morgan Rose episode coming out soon. And then past interviews with Jose Mangan, members of Korn, Eddie Trunk, members of other members of Seven Dust, Stuck Mojo, Fozzy, Islander, and so much more. So make sure you're either going over to YouTube, searching out the Good Company with Bowling, or just going to scottgoodcompany.com. Let him know that the Talk To Me podcast sent you, and that will be much appreciated. And in honor of Wednesday opening the latest Ozfest on New Year's Eve, let's play some Ozzy. Let's go back to an album called No Rest for the Wicked. This album is a staple in my cassette collection from back in the day. I remember when I was going to visit my grandmother, it was probably 1980 something or other, and I walked over to the convenience store, and they had a rack of tapes, and I needed a new cassette, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try out this dude Ozzy, and I got some No Rest for the Wicked. I popped it in, hit play, and I heard this song, Miracle Man. So let's check out Miracle Man by Ozzy. Let's talk to Wednesday 13, and then I will talk to you guys momentarily.
You are listening to Talk To Me.
Hello.
Hello, Wednesday.
Hey, man, what's up?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just finished up my first disc of season 2, Different Strokes.
Oh wow!
So it's a good Friday for me. That's a good season, man. Muhammad Ali was on this season.
Yeah, that's one of those shows that, like, you and I are about the same age, and definitely grew up watching some Different Strokes, and they were talking. I guess is it Willis is like the only one left alive in that show?
Yeah. Todd Bridges is the only one that's left out of the gang.
Do you ever see him at any of these like conventions you do or anything?
Not yet, but I can't wait because I really would like to meet him. I love that show, and I have pretty much basically just engulfed myself in nothing but 1980s movies and TV shows over the past 3 months. Just kind of like an actor does for like getting that method acting for a role. I've been kind of doing that for this album. So yeah, it's just been full on horror movies, sitcoms. I've disconnected my cable. I have no idea what's going on outside of growing pains.
Fantastic. I actually I just finished up
it's a whole other world. I went back in a time machine, and I love it.
I just finished up the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix. It's
I just finished last weekend.
Dude, what a crazy man! Like I never really knew his story. I've always heard the name, but I never really knew much about it.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, I knew a lot about him. I thought until I saw that.
Well, it was just crazy.
I
didn't
I didn't know he escaped twice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know he represented himself.
That's what blew me away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was cool, and then the way he confessed in the third person.
Yeah, that whole.
That's my favorite stuff. I love horror movies,
mm-hmm.
but these are the real boogeymen.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, you were born in what? You were born in what? 76.
Yes. I'm a 70.
Yeah, I was born in 79. I mean, obviously grew up in the 80s, and I vaguely remember him being. Killed or electrocuted or whatever, the electric chair in '89.
I remember that too. As I was watching it, I was watching it with my girlfriend, and now that I remember this, he's the first serial killer I ever remember hearing about,
mm-hmm.
and it was like live on TV. I remember hearing about him escaping and that kind of stuff, and then because it went on forever. The trial it was just like. So I remember he was like really kind of the first serial killer that I ever remember hearing about on television that I can remember, that I think I remembered. I'm pretty sure he's the first guy.
Yeah, it was just nuts seeing him being able to kind of represent himself like that, and just when you know the outcome.
He did a better job than Manson did. Let's say he was definitely more convincing, and all the girls thought he was handsome.
That was insane too.
He was smart, and and it just. He was good. He wanted to be a lawyer. That was his other thing. So it's just like, it's a crazy story.
Yeah,
it really is.
Spoiler alert, but yeah, when the judge, convicts him at the end there, and he's like, kind of stops him, and he's like, son, I wish you would have, made some better choices in your life. I would have loved to have you in my courtroom and all that stuff. I'm like, wow, you just said
totally Andy Griffith theme, pretty much.
Yeah,
son, there is no real will here. I really do wish you would have chose a better path. I would have loved for you to work under. It was just kind of like it just blew me away. That judge could not believe that a man that smart could stoop that low. And, So,
yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the movie now. I think it'll a lot of people kind of gave it backlash when they said Zac Efron was going to play him because they said he was too handsome and charming. But I mean, I think that actually is very true to the fact of how the women liked him.
It's basically American Psycho.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
It really is that scenario. He was a good-looking dude, and that's why I remember him the most from my first memories. Is my mom saying, "How could he do that? He was so good-looking." And I'm like, "Yeah,
wow.
Okay, all right, if you say so."
And then I was trying to remember which member of Manson used of Marilyn Manson. Which member used the last name Bundy? Was it one of the early members?
Yeah, there was definitely a Bundy, and his first. He had a lot of different people in line. I remember there was a Bundy, and I think they pretty much covered all the most popular serial killers. So but yeah, I think he was one of the Spooky Kid era guys.
Right. Well, very cool, man. Well, as you guys know, we are speaking with Wednesday 13, and you got a big tour coming up, man. You're going out with Cradle of Filth. How did all that come together? Are you guys, past tour mates, or is it just something that kind of came together?
It's something that just kind of came together. I definitely know of Cradle of Filth and heard their name for. Man, when I realized, I went back how long they've been out doing stuff. I remember hearing about them like at the end of the 90s. There was a few people in my town that were kind of getting into black metal, which seemed like a really odd thing, especially for my little country haystack kind of town. And I remember seeing that Cradle to Enslave video like early on, and just being like, "Whoa, who's this guy? He's scary." And that's really all I really knew about them. And then I got busy doing Murder Dolls, and they were never kind of on my radar because I wasn't like a black metal fan. And then I became, more familiar with black metal music over the past 7 or 8 years, when I really got into Satyricon and then now I've kind of went backwards and listened to Cradle of Filth. And so to me, it's kind of new, at least to my ears. And it's great, and I think it's a perfect fit. I think their audience is a perfect fit for us because we don't really fit anywhere, and I think we're a bastard mix between something between what Cradle of Filth does and somewhere between Motley Crue. I don't know. We're the mutts of everything. We mix in all of our influences, so that's why we have. Yeah, it's kind of hard to place us. So it's like, all right, cool, we can go out with Cradle of Filth. Okay, cool, we can go out with this band. It's like it's kind of hard to put us with people, but I think this is going to be actually a better fit than in the past. Because I think Cradle of Filth brings out a pretty diverse crowd. They bring out black metal fans, but they also kind of bring out what I like to call the vampires. I think it's perfect for us.
The tour starts March 7th in Vegas and runs through April 18th and ends up in Dallas. So it's going to be a pretty cool, pretty good run for you guys. And when I saw the tour announcement, I saw you were on the tour. I thought that was a very cool mix. And then I also looked at it too, and I hadn't realized that Condolences has been out for almost like 2 years now, which is insane too.
I know, right?
How has this album cycle been for you? I guess you're kind of at the end of it, and you said even maybe looking into writing some new stuff.
Yeah, we just finished the new album. We're done with all the music and vocals, and I'm just kind of putting the finishing touches on all the stuff that I'm doing with it, which I'll explain more later. But yeah, we already have a new record. Pretty much, it'll be done. I should be turning it in the next week and a half. And then it'll be out later this year. And so, yeah, we're just kind of on the tail end of this Condolences leading into the new album Necrophase. So on this upcoming tour, Cradle of Filth, you're going to hear the set's going to be a mix of everything I've done and a couple of new songs from the new album as well. So you're getting a new show this year, and we're kind of tease the people with what we're going to be bringing with the new album.
And speaking of Condolences, let's check out a track called What the Night Brings off of Condolences by Wednesday 13.
You are listening to Talk to Me.
Somewhere out there, deep in the dark of
Back with Wednesday 13, and we are talking about just everything going on in the Wednesday 13 world. Obviously, the tour coming up with Cradle of Filth, and also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the New Year's Eve Ozfest show you played. Once again, you know, it's great to see your name pop up on stuff like that, and kind of tell me your experience of playing with Ozzy that day.
Well, it was a complete honor to be on that and play with so many cool bands. I mean, when I saw the lineup, and it was Ozzy and Manson and Zombie, I'm like, whoa, it's like the last shock rockers ball kind of deal,
Nice, yeah.
And to be included with not having the, I think there was less than 10 bands on the whole day, and just to be included on that was amazing. And so it was for me, we don't normally do New Year's shows in the past. I can't really recall us ever doing a New Year's show. I'm usually home or something. So that was really cool, and it was great. We got to kind of start off the whole day and get the show started, and we got to douse the crowd in ice, which kind of backfired. Well, it kind of worked. It worked exactly how we thought it would, but I don't think the people appreciated being frozen.
Well, you got to explain that a little bit more. How did you douse them with ice?
Well, our logic on it was, well, we can't afford fire, but we can afford ice.
Okay.
So we just chose we wanted to get people the same show, so we had to work on a budget.
When I looked at the bill on that, it made me realize that if you wanted to have a career in music, you needed to be the singer of a band, because it was like Ozzy, Jonathan Davis, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Wednesday 13. It was.
Someone pointed out it was like solo Ozfest. It was just like names, and that was odd when I noticed that.
Actually, I guess it came out today. It was like a little bit over 12,000 people there. Obviously, you played early in the day. Was there still a pretty decent crowd early in the day? Because with it being New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know what to expect. I was expecting an empty parking lot in L.A. and people showing up when the sun went down, but it was exact opposite. It was packed when we played, and it just started. It just literally it was packed. It looked to us, and by the time we finished our set, it was really, really packed. And so, yeah, everybody came out early, and it was a cool thing. So it was really cool to be a part of it, and I'm glad we got to be the kickoff for it, and they treated us great. Ozfest, everyone there that handles everything they treated us like gold. So I have no complaints, and if they want us for any more Ozfest, just call us up on the 13 bat line.
Amazing. Did you stick around for the entire show and do the whole ball drop and everything else at the end of the night?
Yeah, I did not. I honestly, after our set, I hung out for a while. I saw Body Count walk to the stage. I got to make eye contact and say hello to Ice-T, And I went home and I hung out with my cat and my girlfriend for New Year's Eve. I just didn't want to be around loud noises. I've been on tour like all year, and I was like, you know what, this is cool enough for me. I got to do my thing. I'm going to go home and relax. So yeah. And plus, I don't really party anymore. I just celebrated my year of not drinking yesterday. So
oh, wow.
New Year's for me was playing a good rock show and going to bed by the time the ball dropped.
So the way this is kind of working out with the Cradle of Filth tour, is this kind of the end of the condolences cycle, or is this the beginning of the next cycle?
It's a little bit of both. As I said, we're going to play a couple of the new tracks and kind of start teasing people as it goes along, because right now, like I said, I'm turning the new record in pretty much as we begin the Cradle of Filth tour. So we're going to play a couple of songs, and then we have another tour we can't announce right exactly yet, but we're going out again later this year, and so it'll be a little more set up for the Necrophase record. So this is kind of, you're getting a little bit of the last one and a little taste of this one, of the new one, of what's to come.
And you said you kind of went down the 80s rabbit hole of horror and sitcoms and all that stuff. What other stuff did you hit? What other movies did you hit on this new album?
Oh man, I went through everything, and I'm still going through it. Like I've almost reached the end of the movies, and now I went to TV shows. So I've been in this week. I've been in like Different Strokes, WKRP in Cincinnati, Buck Rogers, Greatest American Hero. I've been, and you know what? There's so much cool stuff in there, and those shows that I did not get as a kid. I like those shows, but I think I got the kid aspect of it. Now I'm seeing it from the adult aspect of it, if I don't even want to use that word. But it's like watching them all over and seeing it in a new light. So yeah, I went down this rabbit hole, and I'm happy here. I don't think I'm going to come out. So I've unhooked my cable. I don't even know what's going on, and I check if I see something on my Twitter feed, I kind of know what's going on. But if it doesn't involve John Carpenter, Halloween, or a sitcom like Growing Pains or Different Strokes, I pretty much don't know what's going on.
And speaking of the 80s and 70s and 80s, and I know the one thing that you and I have talked about on this show before was your toy collection. How is that going, and what's the latest score you got?
Oh, it's growing. But I've kind of in my toy collecting, which has gotten out of control, and I've kind of sort of tried to put a goal to what I'm collecting, because if I don't put a kind of end result to it, it's just going to go on, and I'll never have enough. So I've kind of started only collecting a lot of like vintage stuff. So if there's anything new that comes out, it's got to be like really, really, really good for me to get it. As cool as it is, I would rather spend the money on an awesome He-Man toy from 1980 than the new He-Man that's 18 feet tall, but still looks cool, but I still want the vintage one. So I've really stuck to my vintage stuff. And this past year, I did a kind of a rearrange of my house. I sort of left all of my classic horror Universal stuff in the front part of my house, and the part that I spend most of my time, which I wrote all of the lyrics for this new album, and the rabbit hole I call it, is nothing but He-Man and G.I. Joe. And I've literally covered my room. I have helicopters from G.I. Joe hanging above my head as I talk to you right now. Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, everything. I've just surrounded myself in everything that I grew up on and I loved, and I've just kind of rediscovered it all again. It's like my fountain of youth. I had to display it on my wall, and now it's like revived my love for this stuff again, and I was kind of getting to a point where I was getting burnt out on it and burnt out on being me, and now I've reinvented the whole thing. So this year you're getting new and improved, super powered Wednesday 13.
And fans still bringing you a lot of stuff on tour?
Absolutely. My fans are the best. They surprise me with the coolest gifts. I mean, my fans will listen to stuff I say, and I'll mention a movie or something and forget I talked about it, and then someone will show up with a Stretch Armstrong monster, and I'm like, whoa, I heard you mention this on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, like 6 months ago. This is great. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think some of the coolest stuff that I've gotten has been from fans and things like that. I've got Vincent Price autographs and things from fans, and autographed Darth Vader toys and stuff from, it's like I get a lot of cool stuff from my fans. So I love it, and I hope it continues.
And what I'm loving right now is the kind of the resurgence of all of our stuff and the nostalgia of our generation or whatnot. And, like this past Christmas, I think like 3 or 4 people almost got me the same. Target put out the T-shirts that look like they're in the old VHS box sets or whatever. And I got the Bloodsport and the Back to the Future and all that stuff. And it's just so much stuff out there that's kind of geared toward our age group, I guess.
Well, it was fun, and it just, especially if you lived through it. For someone that didn't, and it's not to say that, because you were born later, that it was a time that it's kind of hard to explain. But then, like when I saw that show Stranger Things, I'm like, man, this show just captured that vibe.
Like, it was perfect.
Just watching those kids on their bikes riding home, literally, I just can zone on that and go, I remember doing that back in the 80s. Riding home on my bike to get home to watch an episode of some TV show like that,
Did you fall down the rabbit hole of the Toys That Made Us on Netflix?
Yes, of course.
Dude, that was like when I saw that pop up, I was like, this is amazing. And it just
I watched the G.I. Joe and He-Man episode over and over, and that's kind of what kickstarted. Like I said, I turned my whole back office basically into a He-Man, G.I. Joe shrine. It's like literally half down the middle. One side's He-Man, so it's one side's Eternia, one side's G.I. Joe Cobra. So, and watching that show, when I seen all that, I went, I want that. I had that. I'm getting that again. I still have that. And now, as I speak to you right now, I'm literally in the middle of all that stuff. And it's awesome. I feel the energy and the power of Castle Grayskull right behind me.
It's great. I love it. All right, let's play some more music. Let's go with a listener request from Chris Senzak off of Transylvania 90210. This is Bad Things.
You are listening to Talk to Me.
It would be really great if you drowned in
right, guys, we are back with Wednesday 13, talking about the upcoming tour with Cradle of Filth and so much more. And just to kind of wrap up the interview, a couple of personal things I pulled up on you. It says you became a grandfather. Is that true?
This is true.
Wow. How did that happen?
I am known now. I told my daughter, I'm like, don't call me grandpa. Don't call me any of these Southern terms. I don't want to be Pep or Grandpa or Peepaw.
It's
or
Papa, but yeah.
I was like, you know what? Call me Gramps. It's a mixture of the Cramps and Grandpa Munster, and that's my tribute. So if you're going to make me a grandpa this young, at least give me the honor or dignity of just let me be called Gramps. Sounds cooler.
That's cool. I can't wait for the grandkids to get a little bit older and find out what Grandpa does. That's awesome.
Oh, I love, man, my granddaughter is so cool. Like she's already watching Pee-wee's Playhouse and watching it every morning. I'm like, yes. So, yeah, she's being brought up right.
So good. Online, you're Mr. Motherfucker 13 on a lot of things. Where did that nickname come from?
That was a song from my band prior to Murder Dolls, my band Frankenstein Drag Queens from Planet 13, which I did from 96 till Murder Dolls began. And on our second album, the very first track on that album was Mr. Motherfucker. And people just started calling me Mr. Motherfucker. And when I went to set up all my social medias as Wednesday 13, there was about 14,000 Wednesday 13s out there. And I went, all right, well, I can't even use my real name, so let's go with what they call me. So I became Mr. Motherfucker 13 was not using by that point. So I would be Wednesday 13 on Twitter, but I believe there's about 45 of those.
When you play shows on a Wednesday that's also the 13th, do you try to play shows on those days? I know that, and I asked that because I had a band, a long time ago that we would always try to play on Friday the 13th, no matter, what time of the month it was, or, what month it was. We'd always, play a Friday the 13th type show. So, do you try to book Wednesday the 13th?
I have done that in the past. I used to do this at the Whiskey A Go-Go for about 2 years in a row. I can't remember what years it was, maybe 2011 or 2012. We got really lucky, and there was like 5 Wednesday the 13th like that year. It was so odd. And we did one at the Whiskey. The very first one we ever did was my first show back after Murder Dolls, and it was sold out, and it was awesome. It was on Wednesday the 13th, and so yeah, so we've done that, but lately it's just been coincidence. And if I happen to realize that it is the 13th on that day, I'll be like, oh, cool, it's Wednesday, it's my fucking day. So do what I say, put your hands together, make noise.
It's my day.
Please, it's my day.
Well, speaking of the Murder Dolls, and I believe I made Blabbermouth news with you on this show. And then when I had Joey on, it made some Blabbermouth news about the Murder Dolls. So,
yeah, Blabbermouth, I think they always like to pick up anything. I know some kids saw my eyebrows and thought I shaved my eyebrows and assumed Murder Dolls were back together when, it's the fact I had blonde eyebrows in them pictures, you can't see them. So,
well, I know you did the semi reunion, for the benefit there. Any word from Joey? I know that he's back out doing stuff, so I mean, you never know.
Actually, I heard from Joey last night. He congratulated me on my year of no drinking, and so he just wrote me just last night, and I replied back to him today. But other than just friendly texts and being cool, there's been no discussion of anything as far as Murder Dolls activity or anything. I know he's doing his thing with Sam and did some touring, and I've been like up to my neck in 1980s stuff, getting ready for my new record, Necrophase. So it's just, for me, it's just cool to be in touch with him, and we're friendly with each other because, if we don't ever do anything again as Murder Dolls, we should be friends. You know what I mean? And that's more important to me than the music. And if we get back together and want to do music one day, then we will. That's just, that whole band was made out of fun, and when we do it again, it'll be done out of fun. When that happens, I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, it is great though that the fans still clamor for it so many years later. So that's always awesome.
I love it, man. It's great. There's nothing cooler. That was such a special time for me both times, both records. I mean, we did a lot of cool stuff, but that very first time we came out and the things we did, it was like when nu metal was dying, and we were just kind of like this little, I won't say breath of fresh air, because it definitely wasn't fresh. It was smelly. But we were something that kind of came in, and it was really amazing in certain places around the world. The UK, and then made me feel like the Beatles for 5 seconds. It was something I'll never forget. Never forget having your van almost rocked over by 100 fans in the middle of Piccadilly Circus in London. That was pretty nuts.
That is awesome. I did want to end on, I don't want to end on this, but I did want to bring up before we ended, your Depop store for your nephew, Andrew, who's fighting colon cancer. My dad is a colon cancer survivor, so it kind of hits close to home, and I kind of wanted you to tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing and, where to look for to help out there.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome. My nephew, Andrew's 32 years old, literally a few months ago, felt bad, went to the doctor. They checked him out, and they were like, "You're eat up with cancer."
Wow.
And he was just like, "What?" And so basically he just found out, and it was kind of just, "Hey, this is it, you're going to be on chemo the rest of your life." And his father's dying from it right now. His father passed away from it a couple years ago. So it's just one of those things where, I wanted to help out. And so on my Depop shop online, if you go to my Wednesday 13 official, Wednesday13.com, or my Facebook or my Twitter, there's links to all of that you can go to my store. I'm selling a cool postcard that says "Cancer Sucks, Cut the Shit," and I autograph it, and all the money goes to my nephew's his medical funds. And so it's been great, and my fans, we've raised almost all the money that he needs for this treatment that we're getting for him, and that's more than I ever thought would happen. So, but he still needs a little bit more. So any contributions anybody can do, that would be helpful, and it all goes to him. And so it's been a cool thing to watch my fans, do that. That really is something I can't even explain. But I just say thank you to my fans, and they're the best.
Yeah, and it's great. I looked up a lot of the stuff on the Depop store, and if you're a fan of what you do, or even other bands similar to what you do, because you're selling T-shirts and all that other stuff just from your personal collection.
So. I'm having a garage sale online.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's really I opened up my closet and went, cool. Here's a Phantasm shirt. Here's a set list. Here's a guitar. Here's a hook hand I wore on this tour. Here's a, so literally it's my haunted garage sale. So if there's stuff you want there, all that money is going toward him. So it's been a pretty cool thing just to watch my fans, help out with that. And it's been an even better thing to see the results and getting my nephew the treatment that he wanted. So it's been a really cool thing. And, it's overall, like I said, I'm just overwhelmed that the fans helped.
Absolutely, and I will definitely put the links in the show notes for the Depop store, and then
awesome.
also tweet that out too, and all that good stuff. Man, Wednesday, always a great pleasure to talk to you. Let's end this off with a song that you want to play. What song would you like to end us out with, and maybe give a little story behind it?
Oh, let's see. What would be good? Let's play something off of, I guess off the latest record, Condolences. The longest song that we had, I guess. That is still one of my favorite songs. It's one of my darkest songs, and I don't know if I'll ever write anything that dark, and I don't know if I have that in me anymore, but that was kind of like, that's a real song. When I hear that song now, it even has more of a motion to me, because I was in a dark place when I wrote it. So I'm out of that place now, but I can always go back and visit it in song. And if you want to hear the darkest part of my brain, this is the song.
Well, absolutely, Wednesday. Well, once again, man, thanks so much for taking the time. And once the new album comes out, I'm sure I will try to have you on again and promote the hell out of that one too.
Yeah, you do, man. I can't wait to spill all the beans about it, because it truly is my favorite thing I've ever worked on, and I can't wait to tell people the stuff that's going on with it.
Great, man. Well, have a good rest of your day, man. It was great to chat with you.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
As my life's light is fading, friends and family gather round and grieve. I can see it now so clearly. And as the darkness calls to me, death is your destiny. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss. Condolences. Condolences. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss. Condolences. Condolences. The shadow people, they reach out to me, telling me that it's okay. I'm holding on, I don't know what's going on. They come to take me away. And as the darkness calls to me, death is your destiny. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss. Condolences. Condolences. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss. Condolences. Condolences. You wave goodbye, the curtains closing on my life. Into the darkness we began this final ride. Where am I going? What is before me now? A new realm has awakened. And as the darkness calls to me, death is your destiny. Sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss.
huge thank you to Wednesday 13 for taking the time. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Wednesday, not only his music, but his toy collecting prowess. If you guys could see my house now, you guys would see toys all throughout it. And it's a lot of fun collecting. And so if you guys want to send me your old 80s toys, you don't want to give them to Wednesday. You want to send them to me. I'll give you my P.O. box. And that would be a lot of fun for me to open up a couple of old He-Man toys or whatnot. So if you want to do that, that would be much appreciated. Send that on over. So once again, thank you guys for checking out a Talk to Me on a Saturday. And then hopefully, if my scheduling is any better, I will have an episode out on Thursday. I believe it's going to be with... you know what? I'm not going to tell you. You're just going to find out when it happens. So until then, until Thursday, for the Talk to Me podcast, I am Joshua Toomey, and I will talk to you soon.